there are ways of doing this world without showing the helicopters and the opulence, but it's great if you can, because that's the texture and nature of the real lives of these people. So if you have that budget available, I think it creates a much more real picture.
Was it the idea of creating a story about a huge family owning a massive media conglomerate? Was that the appeal to you? Did you want to kind of tap into a deep dive into that kind of family? Was the milieu of the media and that kind of huge corporation, was that important to you? What was the initial spark for the show?
Yeah, very much. It was, I'd written a screenplay almost over a decade ago now about the real family of Rupert Murdoch. It was kind of quite a weird tone in that it was a fictionalized future imagining of them spending some time together, and that was hard to get made and never got made. But I guess I'd had that impulse, and much later, when I was thinking about a show to suggest to HBO, after we finished making Peep Show, that idea came back, and I did a bit more reading, and the idea broadened out. And, I guess I always knew about Maxwell and, Conrad Black, but I didn't know so well the American landscape, the Disney family and Eisner's reign there, and Sumner Redstone, and the Mercers who own Breitbart, and the Smith family who own Sinclair, who are right-wing and own a lot of local news stations in the US. So those things came together. And yeah, it was, I love writing families, but in a way I first approached it as a sort of political, sociological, how the hell have we got to this position in US and British politics kind of viewpoint.
And it strikes me that this is the kind of show where authenticity is everything. Like you've created a world where we have to see this family in the situation of their news channels and their newspapers and their, in these huge, impressive skyscrapers, and in their daily lives, living these very luxurious, glamorous, exciting lives. Was getting HBO involved, was that a huge help in the sense of kind of depicting that world in as authentic a way as possible?
Yeah, I mean, you could imagine doing this show at a different scale. You can do, anyone who saw that small movie Margin Call, or there are ways of doing this world without showing the helicopters and the opulence, but it's great if you can, because that's the texture and nature of the real lives of these people. So if you have that budget available, I think it creates a much more real picture. Just as you say, that the authenticity or attempted authenticity is a flavour that we're keen on for the show, and that budget allows for that. You're right.
And when you're establishing the tone of the show, it's obviously it's an hour long. It is very funny throughout, and you're obviously mainly known, I think, as a comedy writer. But did you establish that? Did you know what tone you wanted to go for from the start? That mix of very kind of sometimes black, sometimes extremely sharp humour with the intense drama that all these situations create within this world of this family.
Yes, and tone is one of those, it's an ineffable thing, and it's the sort of like the most important thing, I'm sure, when you review a new show, there being a certainty about the tonal feel of it is one of those things which I think viewers respond to, and they respond well to being reassured that the creators have a comprehensive view of that tone. And I think that I wrote the pilot, obviously, and the pilot is the same tone, I think, as the show. People may feel it's altered. Viewers sometimes spot things you don't see yourself. It's a tone which encompasses comedy, because I think that the real world encompasses comedy, and if you leave it out, then you can end up taking these big figures at their own estimation, which, if you don't include their ridiculousness, is their pomposities, their vanities, their failures, then you present an incomplete picture of them. So I think comedy, is very much a part of how we respond to the world. So I think it has to be in there, and it's, amenable to me to put it in there.
And how important was it? You had Adam McKay directed the pilot, who directed loads of great comedies and kind of quite political, satirical films. How important was he in the process of developing that time?
He was very important. He was important not least because maybe HBO would have made this show without me, but I'm sure it was massively reassuring to them to have such a big name and a big talent involved, and it probably made them more likely to make the show. So there's that practical element. And then, yeah, I've known him a little bit. I've written some screenplays for his company that never got made. But he's a nice man. He's a smart man, and one of the many things that can go wrong with a project, a TV show or a film, is that people are making a different thing. The director and the writer and actors have different ideas of it. We were lucky in that, maybe because we both come from comedy worlds, maybe because I knew him a bit, maybe just because of luck, we had the same idea, I think, of what we were trying to achieve. His shooting of it with a sense of getting behind the scenes, the handheld, was very amenable to me and to the material. And he comes out of comedy, so as I'd learned to do with Armando on the thick of it, he was keen to do loose takes at the end of when we'd got all the material that we needed. And I think you get some good stuff out of that, and you also get a atmosphere on set, a sort of permissive atmosphere of being able to encourage the actors into the process, and I like that, and I think it works for the show.
And you've got a writer's room, you've got a team of writers you've brought in, you've assembled for the show. How was that process? Was that a new thing for you, or was that something you were used to? And did you create your own way of using that system, the writer's room situation, for this show?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a natural sort of collaborator. I can and have written things sort of on my own, and when it's time to write script, Sam and I would always write separately and then collaborate. Sam Bain, who I wrote Peep Show with, and when I write Succession, I always write apart. But collaboration has always been totally key for me. And when Sam and I would come up with scripts, in a way that's a writer's room. It's a writer's room of two. When Sam and I had come up with plots, I should say, we did it as well on Fresh Meat, which had a mini sort of English writer's room. So yeah, I felt not out of my normal realm by running a more US style writer's room. It's bigger in scope, bigger in length, bigger in terms of the amount of thinking and talking you do in the room. But that sort of collaboration, I wasn't unused to. In fact, it's how I've always worked in a way.